Diane, playing a podcast Black Lodge Trivia Night. All right, welcome back to Black Lodge Trivia's one-shots. We're finally going to take a stab at finishing up Cyberpunk CBR+PNK. Cyberpunk. Yeah, we're down to Patrick again. He knows what he did, and so we're gonna take the opportunity to give this one last shot. And I feel
Patrick. Oh yeah, play Cyberpunk. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to say really quickly, I feel a little guilty. We've let just enough time go by that everything that I sort of started to absorb from the first session is gone. So I'll probably be overly confused again. So I apologize to the Cabinet of Curiosities, or I think it was Mr. Mello who created
But
this
hey,
game.
if you want to like find out what we did last time and find out what the rules are, you can check out episode 1.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's on the YouTube stream. It's on the podcast stream. I think we had a really good time. And
yeah.
But before I go into the recap, I think we need to take care of one other order of business. And that is the Black Lodge trivia that is the real reason why everybody probably comes to this.
That's right. Twin Peaks time.
Okay, so I don't know how much of a question this is, but I'll see how it goes.
Sure.
In season 2, episode 7, I believe that is when Twin Peaks reveals who the killer of Laura Palmer is.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's around the 14th episode because the first season was only like 7 or 8 episodes. Anyway, so that's when they reveal the answer to the big fueling mystery of the show. What episode did David Lynch want to reveal the killer in?
I'm not gonna say 1. I know, like in the UK, that's when it was revealed, right? In the pilot. But I'm gonna say that wasn't it. I'm gonna say like episode 10 or something like that. Just like something longer than episode or season 2, episode 10. Like, because around that point of season 2, I'm assuming that viewership was like this for season 1, and then you have the downward turn of season 2 before it kind of. So I'm going to say like later. I don't know. Season 2, episode 10.
All right. Final answer.
Yeah, final answer. My other option, my backup guess would be season 2, episode 1, but I feel better with season 2, episode 10 for some reason.
Okay. So there may have been different discussions at different points, but at one point, and this is, I think at one point we were talking about how David Lynch and ABC sort of butted heads a little bit. At one point, the answer was David Lynch never wanted to reveal the killer.
I think I've heard that before. Okay.
Yeah, he was like, it's not important who killed Laura Palmer, which everybody's like, time out.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure about that. But he was like, and he was correct about this part. The instant you reveal that, any momentum the show has, any, the thing that keeps people wanting to find out more is gone.
Yep.
And ABC is like, I hear you, but at some point you need to, and I mean, that's just classic, murder mystery storytelling. You got to give him an answer at some point. So I sort of see both sides. But yeah, my understanding is at one point the answer was never, which is why sometimes I wondered, like, how much did he actually figure out of who did what and when he decided those things? If for part of his thinking, he was like, it doesn't matter who killed her, or I don't want to tell people who killed her.
So how does the UK pilot factor into that then?
Well, my understanding is the UK pilot sort of gives you Bob is a real person that lives above a gas station. And he's just like, my memory is very hazy. My memory is a little bit of a drifter kind of person, and he killed Laura Palmer. The Bob,
and spoilers, folks, for a 30-year-old show, by the way.
Right. Wait till I tell you about Vader. Or Rosebud. But yeah, so like, but my understanding was that it's Bob, but Bob isn't a metaphor or a incarnation of something the way he is in the show. So I was never quite sure, given the other answer of potentially never, what that meant overall.
Yeah, because if it's Bob the thing that possesses Laura's killer,
Right.
then you can do never. And
Right.
and still present it in the UK.
Right.
That here's the killer, but this killer isn't a real person. But if the counterpoint to that is Bob lives above this gas station, and Bob is a drifter who kills Laura Palmer and maybe isn't even a real person, but then that's different than well, and I guess maybe that does go hand in hand with the killer doesn't matter, like it's just a drifter.
Right.
But so I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, I gotta say, just to fangirl out a little bit, the idea of Bob's an incarnation of this thing that then possesses the on paper sounds like a hot mess.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, the way it comes, because Lynch is not known for being like a, I'm going to think 5 seasons ahead. He's very, seat of his pants, happy accidents, seeing a set dresser in a mirror, and suddenly that changes the whole course of the show. The way it all comes together, the way he sort of gives its origin story in the return, is stunning for my personal taste.
Well, I agree. I think the mystical elements get a little weird in season 2, especially with, and spoiler alert for Patrick, for the only person who hasn't seen all of it, when Josie gets stuck in the doorknob, right?
Right.
It jumps the shark a little bit, but then boy, did they pick it up. When you really start diving into the Black Lodge, like the Lodge lore, just gets so good in season 2, and then ultimately you're left with this amazing. You get more and more of the Lodge, and then you're left with this ending, and then you're left waiting for 25 years, or in my case, it was only like 5 years, or I guess it was a little longer than that from when I first watched it, but yeah, it really picks up in that lore when the mystical stuff gets a little bit odd, and then boy, it gets real good.
Yes. Yeah. I gotta watch that again.
And and then you throw the return stuff on top of it.
Right.
Which just like a whole new element.
Right. And I feel like, I wonder if people didn't know what to make of, what the hell? Fire Walk With Me. The half of Laura Palmer, you can sort of see how that fits together, but the part that isn't is that Black Lodge lore. It's the sort of a lot of the beginning of what the return becomes.
I need to rewatch Fire Walk With Me. I've only seen the return once, but more importantly, I've only seen Fire Walk With Me once, which is a real shame because that's not the undertaking of. But maybe when I finish my rewatch of OG Twin Peaks, I'll do the whole thing. And
that's the thing. I need to rewatch literally all of it, and then we need to Palmer Daddies,
Palmer Daddies,
or whatever.
Twin Peaks Minute.
Yeah, something. So there you go. That's a little bit of Twin Peaks trivia.
So if we did just Fire Walk With Me is, I was going to see what its runtime was. 2 hours and 15 minutes.
I was about to say, I'm willing to bet it's a pretty normal movie.
When did that come out? I mean, that's a 1992 is when Fire Walk With Me came out. I mean, that's a pretty lengthy movie, it seems like. But so that's 145 episodes of just Fire Walk With Me.
Yeah, I mean, content, baby. I obviously I would be up for doing a rewatch. I don't know if people
are gonna listen. Doesn't matter.
I mean, that's the thing. Like honestly, who cares? That's right. We don't do this.
We enjoy it.
Exactly. It's one of those stupid things where like people say like, how do you grow your YouTube channel and all that kind of crap, and then in the end, it's always just make shit that you like, and then who cares? Because honestly, growing your YouTube, like so few people knock it out of the park that just do it because you love it.
Right. Yeah.
So, and we definitely love this, and we love Twin Peaks role playing. So I guess we sort of hit something.
We have that going for us.
Yeah. And we're also, again, as we pointed out a number of times, we're very unique because we're straight white males in middle age on a podcast. So, I mean, I feel like that's an untapped market.
With average experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So real quick, do you need any information to get into the game?
Where were we even playing the game at?
We were playing in Foundry.
Okay.
Did I don't know if I was just trying to figure out, like, there's a way to do an invitation links in game.
How did I have this before? I completely forgot that we actually had it up in Foundry.
And I don't want to reveal my IP address. That's the trick. So I'm trying to figure out.
You're not sharing your screen yet. So why don't you post it in Discord?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Don't say your IP address out loud.
Okay. So you're not going to believe it, but it's 555. Okay. Didn't realize I wasn't sharing my screen yet. So that's good. I'm going to put it in Discord.
Sure.
I'm going to put it in the public general channel that goes out to Twitter.
Perfect.
And I'm going to start sharing my screen.
I assume my password is what it usually is.
Should be, yeah. But let me know if there's any issues. Let's see. Application window. I want...
maybe it's not me. This is the content you came for, folks. You know, if we do, if we did Riverdale Minute, then we wouldn't have these technical difficulties.
That's true.
Yeah, sorry, I completely forgot. We actually, because when we did Space Between the Stars, Long Dark Space Between the Stars, we did not.
So let me, now that I am sharing.
Well, it's just my Foundry password. I mean, it's just to log into the game, so you can say that out loud, isn't it?
No, I think I did it different from.
No, I got it. I don't know what it is, but I have it saved in my password keeper, so whatever.
Nice.
I'm in.
So we're in. All right, great. Cool. Okay. So we'll get the game back up and running. We'll get that.
So you told me something interesting today while this loads up, that there is a, let me do a refresh. I don't see the screen yet. Alchemy.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Alchemy.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Supposedly I was sort of jumping around. I think Cyberpunk was having a Kickstarter of some kind.
Oh, nice.
I think for physical copies you can buy, we'll have all the links and whatever in the whatever. But you can buy physical copies of the game through a Kickstarter. And then they mentioned, hey, by the way, check out Alchemy's Kickstarter. So I'm assuming this is a few months old, because Alchemy is going to be the sort of quote unquote official VTT of Cyberpunk. So it's not out yet, because I was actually, I backed that Kickstarter, just full disclosure, and I didn't see it out yet. I thought it'd be fun to give it a shot. I've been looking for a reason to try Alchemy, just out of curiosity. So,
well, it seems like it could lend itself to that, just because it's so rules light. Like you can get the rules out of the way and just really go for the immersive. I mean, not that Foundry doesn't do that, but that's obviously Alchemy's leg up, is the whole user interface is supposed to be more immersive, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. So there we go. So just to do a quick recap of the last session, I don't know if you need it, but maybe for the listeners and viewers, it's not that complicated. We're basically doing the sort of starter intro adventure called Mind the Gap. And the adventure opens with a concussion grenade going off. You were in a monorail car, number 18, and you start getting conflicting information. Your operator, the person that sort of runs you through the mission, is in your earpiece, and he's saying, hey, I need you to get to car 22. But as you start to do that, you start to, you hear one of the PA voices saying, blah, 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 blah. But part of what it says is it sort of, has this digital noise, and it says, car 12, not 22. And so you basically decide to take a chance on love and follow the PA's voice instead of your operator, and you start heading towards 12. So the whole first session was making your way from car to car, and the thing mainly standing in your way are these sort of mercenaries from a megacorp called Rebco SAR, which is a sort of a fixer kind of multinational corporation, and they tend to get tied up in nefarious dealings. All of this is sort of tied to an ongoing 2300 AD thing that I run. It takes place in our solar system. It's around the year 2300, heavily inspired by GURPS transhumanism, and well, I guess now it's by Mongoose. When I got into it, the original 2300 game was by GDW, so now it's Mongoose Publishing. So a lot of the elements borrowed from those, mushed together. You're in the city of Libreville, which is in Gabon, which is in Equatorial Africa, which is the home to Earth's only beanstalk to space, and that's what makes this city the largest in the world. And yeah, so you were on this monorail, you're making your way to Car 12, you're getting intercepted by different factions of this Rebco presence, and you start to notice weird things happening, glitches, people's faces not matching, people talking weird. You go into one car, leave, but then you're back in the same car, and you realize, okay, this is a simulation. And you finally get to Car 12, and you realize the briefcase that you've been taking to Car 12 suddenly comes to life. It grows legs like an arachnid, it clamps onto the wall, and then the whole monorail goes into a plummet. And so that's where we left off. The monorail was plummeting. You're not sure for how long.
Kind of forgot that little tidbit. I remembered everything up until the plummeting part. I guess that's an important
fact. Yeah. So you're plummeting hell fast to Earth.
Nice.
And yeah, the briefcase that you were taking with you has sort of grown legs and clamped itself to a wall. And yeah, so that's where we pick it up. So because you're plummeting, it's sort of like you're in 0G. You're not literally in 0G, but you're in free fall, so you're floating as everything around you also falls at the same rate. So there we are. So I guess, again, we're playing CBR+PNK, which is a Blades in the Dark kind of game. So we're basically going to be rolling 3d6 dice pools. 4 or 5 is a success with complication. A 6 is an outright success. Double 6s is a critical success. 1, 2, 3 is a failure.
Yeah, and I'm playing Dent. And if anyone a fan of Rick Remender's wonderful Tokyo Ghost, it's basically that. I'm a big meathead. I'm addicted to my augmentation, which basically kind of gives me like super strength. But the problem is it's very costly to use, and so I can basically sit through ads to get a refill. And I've used I've had to watch a set of ads once in the game. I've kind of used my built up credits. I don't think I banked any. So yeah, he's a big, meaty, lovable guy, but he's certainly got his flaws, and he's kind of addicted to the junk that they pipe in through his augmented strength. So nice. As we free fall here, and I understand that there's probably not a lot of time, but I'm assuming that the spider briefcase thing is menacing looking. It's not friendly.
No, it seems like it's sort of got like that Boston Dynamics, you know, the little dog robot, but a lot more vicious. So it seems like it's about to go on to the attack.
It's painted like red and black, not like pastels or anything.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, it's about to go on to the attack. And so yeah, what would you like to do?
Can I, as we start to plummet, can I see what we're plummeting towards? I mean, Dent is still thinking that this is some type of simulation, but damn, do they make these simulations realistic? And anything like this is going to hurt like a son of a bitch. So I'd rather not just take it, but also he's also kind of like, shit, what other choice do I have? Right.
So what you see, if you look down, basically because you're in Car 12, you basically see Car 11. You see people panicking, also in free fall, you know, scrambling, trying to grab onto something, people screaming. Basically, it's the general, oh my God, we're all going to die kind of pandemonium in the car below you.
Okay. I'm going to try to break some laws of gravity here. I'm going to try to do some cool shit. So stop me at any point if you're like, there's no way. But are any of the... Could I fit through the windows? Like out the side?
Yeah, because, you know, at least, I don't know, the trains I ride into the city, the windows are designed in an emergency to pop out so you can get out.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I live in the Midwest. We don't have infrastructure. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're all emergency windows. You can definitely pop them out.
Okay. So Dent like grabs one of the hand railings and he like tries to grab that and swing himself as hard as he can to that window, hoping to break it. If not, then he'll like try to pop the emergency level. And I think he's gonna like bail or try to maybe.
Okay.
I mean, there's 11 other cars landing before us, but I still don't like the odds of being car 12.
Yeah. So why don't we do this? Let's. Now I don't know if you remember how to do the dice roller. There's 2 options. You know, on the icons all the way to the bottom, there's the picture of the dice, but at the one that's the top icon, the second row, there's something called FD, which is the something in the dark roller.
Yeah, Forge in the Dark.
Forge in the Dark. Nice. Yeah, so you can click either one. And what I want you to do is we're going to call it aggressive and athletic. So that's going to create a 4 dice pool.
Nice. And
the typical threat, the potential damage that can be done, I'm just going with the standard 2. But just remember, like, if you're like, crap, I want to make this even more potent of a success, you can say, so let's up the risk and make that threat a 3 or a potentially fatal 4 if you want to give yourself a chance to like super succeed.
Yeah. And I don't think it looks like I've got 5 left before I overload on pushes. I don't think this is necessarily a push.
Okay.
I mean, he's jumping out the window, but also he's jumping out the window, you know, like This is a solution, but it's like, oh shit, here we go again.
Right. Now, just out of curiosity, have you seen like, say, like Apollo 13 or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, a long time ago.
Okay, so you're not going to be like literally jumping out the window. You're going to be able to just sort of slide out the window because again, you're all 0G free fall.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you'll be sort of just on the other side of the window, still free falling.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. There's still. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead. Give me that kind of roll and see. Okay. So you got a success with sexy results. So what would you like the consequence to be? For your success.
Maybe part of the reason of going out the window is to avoid spider case here. Maybe the spider case starts scampering towards like its window or something like that. Maybe it follows me.
That makes sense. Yeah, because again, it's able to sort of chink 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 into the.
I imagine it's got like it's attached and can pivot relatively easily.
So yeah, let's say it's on its way. It's like hot on your tail as you get the window open and start to sort of move out. So you find yourself, I guess you'd find yourself outside the train now. Sort of just looking at it. It's like, oh, it's still. Well, yeah, you definitely had that kind of stuff going. Yeah. So what would you like to do now that you're outside the train?
Okay, so I distinctly remember I was in some cars and like I noticed things glitching out and stuff. So
yeah,
am I getting that? I mean, this probably, if I'm in a simulation, this is probably pretty taxing, maybe. So I'm just like right now I'm just looking around to assess like, are things bugging out or does this seem real and I've made a terrible choice?
No, it's definitely like. I'm trying to think. Have you ever like played a video game where you accidentally walk through a wall that you weren't meant to, and then like the perspective on things gets really stretchy because the point of view is now suddenly thrown off.
Fall through the world or something.
Yeah, so you're seeing like a lot of glitches.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're definitely more confident than ever that this is a simulation of some kind.
I guess he just maybe like holds on to the car and just like closes his eyes and just like gets ready for a belly flop that he knows he's gonna feel.
Okay.
Wherever his actual body is. He's kind of all in on the simulation.
Got it. Cool. Okay.
That's going to be it, folks. What a night.
It's been a great adventure. And you're dead. No, but as you do that, the spider case climbs outside and sort of grabs onto you, with one of its things. And it looks like it's getting ready to take a stab with another.
Okay. As he's like in this like peaceful moment of zen, like, he knows he's in a simulation, but there's no ads blaring in his helmet. There's no like he would love another hit of his augmented strength, but he's not like craving it. So he's just like, and he's gonna try to grab it by the briefcase handle that hasn't transformed, and he's just gonna try to fling it as far as he can.
Okay.
With one arm.
Yeah, so I would consider that like an aggressive athletics.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Play to your strengths.
Yeah. So let's try Hulk Smash. Yeah. Give me another roll. Again, it would be 4 dice.
Ooh.
Okay. So 0 effect. Actually, I should be. Cool. So. Yeah. So how do you want the failure to be that you missed the handle? Do you want it to be something else? What would you like it to be?
I think I grabbed the handle, but it's probably I grab the handle and I like hunker down, right? Like grip as hard as I can. Cheeks are flapping, and I grab it and I go, and it's like whatever type of contraption this is, this thing is like latched on. So I rip and I yank and I get the leverage, but the handle just goes flying off, and then the spider's like right in front of my face now.
Got it. Okay. So let me do something really quickly.
Sure.
I'm trying to do this here. I want this to be one of those, but I want it to be one of those. Okay. The package. I gotta say, like, I have not run any Forge in the Dark stuff. This feels like a decent module.
This is just blanket. This is just like the base Forged in the Dark. It's not like Blades in the Dark or anything like that you're using.
Right. Now I'm curious if they actually have a specific Blades in the Dark. They might have a Dungeon World. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, Dungeon World is PBTA.
Oh, that's why. Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So this might be it for like Blades in the Dark.
This kind of houses them all.
Yeah. This might be sort of the generic that you. Oh yeah, Blades in the Dark. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. So you. Sorry. So describe again. Apologies.
Yeah, so the handle, like I get the leverage and I yank and I get like good effect, but the handle just snaps off and it goes like skittering.
Okay.
Clashes off the subway or whatever.
Okay. So with that, let's say that the
I guess this isn't a subway for plummeting to the earth. It's just like a probably like
it was an elevated monorail.
There you go. Thanks.
Yeah, that ran over.
Thanks, Disney.
Exactly. So let's see. So yeah, let's see how this works. This thing is going to take a stab at you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now the problem is that with combat, I always feel like you're supposed to do all the rolling in systems like this. Okay, so this is considered a skilled adversary. So the runner's roll determines how effective. Yes, so you're supposed to roll. So what do you think? You clearly in combat. So how do you want to create how do you want to create your dice pool?
I use it from my stats or from what I...
So you can take it from your stats. I'm assuming close combat's going to be the start.
Oh, yeah, for Dent? Yeah, aggressive in close combat, for sure.
So now you have to decide, like, remember, one of the things you can do, I mean, you have your augmentations, you can push with stress, you can also sort of make up gear as you go.
Yep. And I do have a crowbar.
Well, did you lose it? I think
lost crowbar.
Yeah. So if you have, like, if this is the part where you have the combat knife in your boot, or if you have some other kind of equipment that you want to have, we can do that.
I'm not quite to that point. I have some tricks up my sleeve, but I don't know. Dent's face worse.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, give me that 4 die roll, and we'll see how you do. Okay, so you got a limited.
Oh man, that 6 was there for a second.
Oh, was it? Okay, so. So you're going to take basically, so again, I apologize to the creators of this game. I've never done combat, so let's see the, I'm trying to see. So there's a section here on consequences inflicted by enemy actions, bad circumstances, or the outcome of a roll. So the threat was 2. The severity of the complication. So here's the complication. Either, oh wait, no, this is if the, so that can cause like a lasting condition or injury. The complication, compromised assets. You can get something glitched. Threat escalation. We can now suddenly make the threats going forward from 2 to 3. Runners can resist each consequence separately. But the resist is not literally right there. Is it on the character sheet? Resistance armor. Convey how you are resisting to reduce the severity of a consequence, or at the GM's discretion, avoid it entirely. Okay. Then choose a method. You can, this is on your character sheet. You can mark and deplete either a special resistance, which I guess is like a one-time use.
Yeah, like I can, yep.
Mm-hmm. Armor can help, or roll the appropriate approach, which I guess in your case you would go with, say, aggressive, and hope for the best. So the trick I'm having right now is determining the consequence. So in my mind, this would be harm, or a complication that gets you to get something glitched, or you lose something.
Yeah, I see it as harm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go for harm, and then, but the thing is, though, you did succeed. It's just complicated, like my Facebook status. So that's what I'm trying to. How might you determine? So the robot hits.
Yeah,
but it's not a clean, 100%. So maybe we start by describing maybe that complication, and from that maybe we can determine.
Yeah, so I grab the handle, right? And it goes clattering off, and then like I turn around and back to him, and then he just like clocks me, but he clocks me in my like display helmet. So it's not like I mean, he punches me in the face, but some of my helmet here is eating some of the damage. So like as soon as I turn around and look at him, like it's laser eyes or whatever it looks like focuses right on me, and then like one of its like back legs like whips up like a scorpion tail, and then just like down right in my face.
Okay. So that sounds like you have then armor.
Yeah, yes, he does. So I need to mark that.
Yes, let's mark that.
Oh, that's not extra load though. That's just, I need to take that off there.
Okay. So with the armor then, yeah, so I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but let's roll the approach, aggressive, and see what you get on that little chart, and see if we can use that to, I guess it could create stress if nothing else. A 5. Okay. So for a 5, not bad, mark 2 stress. So you're going to take 2 stress for that hit.
Okay.
Or unless you wanted to do your special resistance. You know what? Because you have armor, let's make it 1.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully the armor, yeah.
And you did complicate the success, so let's just do that. That sounds good, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, so do I then like I check my armor off, right? Unless I'm going like for heavy armor, like I put an X in my armor to show like, so like part of the helmet. Oh, maybe like, so like it's got this like display visor, right? To turn on ads whenever they feel like giving me ads or when I need them.
Right.
And it shatters that. It's like the first time you see like Dent's eyes for the first time.
Nice. All right. So what would you like to do in response?
Does it appear to have any like vulnerable areas or anything like that? Like
Interesting.
a soft underbelly or anything?
Let's do a analyze.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say aggressive because you're looking to beat this thing into the ground, not like, cut the red wire for the green wire. So let's do analyze aggressive. So that'll be a 3 dice pool. Nice. It does, but if you want to say what the complication is, or I can come up with something, up to you.
No, you come up with it this time.
Yeah, so let's just say that there is It is like the soft underbelly, so it's going to be tough to get to because it's not like easily reachable. You're going to have to sort of like get underneath it or flip it over. You're going to have to do something like put the turtle on its back, so to speak.
Well, he's going to try to do that for sure.
All right. So let's give me that aggressive, I assume, close combat roll.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you want to push? Do you, okay.
I'm sorry.
Nope, no problem. 5. Very nice. Okay, so you succeed, but what is the complication?
Okay, so I get it, like, it strikes with one of its back legs like that, and I see the opportunity to then, like, kick out its other legs on that side. So, like, it raises its back leg, which makes it a little unstable, and I take my arm out, like, sweep under it, and then it starts to topple, and like, as we're plummeting, as I go in for, like, oh yeah, now I got you now, you little bastard, and I go to get up on top of him, there's like a neon sign that like runs right next to the streetcar, so I have to like drop to my, or like pull myself back down to the monorail car, or risk, like, even though I know it's a simulation, like in the heat of the moment, it's like, oh shit, neon sign, and then he like pulls himself back down.
Okay.
Kind of losing the exact moment where he could have dug in deep.
Cool. Okay. So then, yeah, the let's say, give me a give me an athletics aggressive check. Nice. Okay. So you have like an outright success with that 6. And so what happens is it's trying to regain some position from getting knocked around, and it has sort of, you know, it was sort of, it had 2 clamped into the top of the car, and it was using 2 to try and attack.
Mm-hmm.
One of the 2 that were clamped came off, so it's actually dangling for a minute. So I'm going to let you take another shot.
Nice. It's going for the other leg there. So instead of like going for the soft underbelly, like I see that, I drop, and then I look up at him and I see like maybe it's starting to stabilize, and I see the soft underbelly, and I go for the kill, and then I like see it's got 1 leg attached, and yeah, I'll push this one because I'm already like, why not? I'm already pushing it to the max. So I will mark 2 stress.
2 stress, yeah, for an extra die.
To add an extra die for 5 dice.
There we go. Seeing a 6.
All right,
very nice.
Success.
Okay, so yeah, there's no complication. You sort of get to take your shot. So what do you do once you sort of, are you grabbing the remaining leg, or what's the...
So I have the leg off, and now it's just like, now it's in my hands.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know what the like tech level is, but if it's like the Boston, whatever that robot company's called, like, it's not the best. So now I'm gonna yeet this thing off into existence, and this will just be aggressive athletics again.
Yeah, you want to throw it into existence, or you want to smash it into like an oncoming neon sign?
Both sound great. So
which would you like?
I'm gonna smash it into, like, we're plummeting by things, and this is obviously a very long fall.
Yeah.
There's like a big garbage barge, and so like and it's within arm reach if I extend it. So as we go by, I'm gonna like yo-yo it out, and then just like let it the whole distance of the garbage barge.
All right. Yeah. Give me that. Give me that roll. Let's see. What did? Okay, you got a 5. So that's going to be a success. So you do manage to. This thing's going to be destroyed. But what would you want the complication to be?
Like I'm like grinding it down the barge, and it's still like flailing its legs, and then it catches, and then my arm catches, and then like pops my arm out of its socket, which isn't like, I mean, that's a setback, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's Would that, let's see, would you want to call that like a level 1 harm? Did it?
That's kind of what I'm thinking, like dislocated shoulder.
Okay. Okay, cool. I don't know what those tick boxes next to it mean, but so you dislocated your shoulder, but you did manage to kill this the spider case or whatever.
Yeah.
And as you do that, you're and all of a sudden just and it stops. Everything comes completely still. And all the people that were inside the cars panicking, they stop. Everything just freezes. And then you see you're still sort of in this bizarre free fall, even though you're not free falling anymore. You feel like you could just move as you choose to move. It's not like you're floating or there's gravity or whatever. But as you do that, you see the door from car 13 open.
Okay.
And a woman steps in, sort of actually walking normally. And she sort of just looks around for a second. And she sees you outside the train.
Yeah, so he's like still in the motion, and then like he's starting to realize it, and he's like still slowing down, and then he like stops swimming through air, and then he like levels out and stands up. And car 13.
Sorry, is that what you say?
That's what he like says out, like kind of like a question, like to her.
And she just looks at you for a second, and she sort of gives you a nod, and she says, "Thank you." And it's absolutely 100% clear that the thank you is the same voice as the woman that's been cutting on the PA. And then she goes to the end of the car and opens the door. And now the rest of the cars are no longer there. Now it's just like this blackness. And she sort of spins and turns to you. And she again gives you another nod. And then she just lets herself go out the door, and she falls. And then about 2 seconds later, everything starts to shimmer, and everything that you can see collapses into a singular point, a white point off in the distance.
Okay.
And when I say everything you can see, that includes, like, if you look down, you don't have hands, you don't have feet. Like, literally anything you can see has collapsed into this singular point. And then that voice you heard say, "Thank you," suddenly you hear saying, "Dent, Dent, God damn it, wake up, Dent." And that white point suddenly races towards you and just fills, and everything becomes white. And so after that white, you open your eyes and you realize that a concussion grenade has just gone off in the room. And there's a man standing over you. There's tubes everywhere, the flickering fluorescent lights. He's sort of, doing this and trying to stand up, and you hear in your earpiece, "God damn it, Den, are you awake yet? Tano, what's he doing?" And Tano's like, "Fucking A, I couldn't get him up, and then I think Rebco Sar's here." And then you hear the voice in your earpiece going, "You got to get the fuck out of there." So what do you want to do?
So he does like an inventory of himself. Like, how's his arm feel?
His arm's hurting. Something you don't know, like, if it happens.
Is it dislocated? Like, is it loose, or is it just like hurt like a son of a bitch?
It hurts like a son of a bitch. You don't know if it's not dislocated, but it's definitely hurt. And it could have been just from the concussion grenade going off.
Okay. What about his display visor? Like, is he getting an ad for dick pills right now?
It's asking if you want the ad.
Yeah, okay. So it's functional.
Yeah.
And he kind of scoots behind one of the like benches to like take a little bit of cover. And he starts to process in the face of, what was his name? Tano, Tano. Yeah. Tano. Like, that's someone he knows then. I'm assuming someone he does some sort of jobs with.
Actually, let's I leave it up to you. Do you want it to be somebody that you're familiar with, or just you're completely in the dark?
Let's wait and find out.
Okay, cool.
Tano.
Yeah.
this guy is at least appearing to like look after me or make sure I'm okay.
Yes, and you're both in contact with the woman's voice from the PA in your earpiece.
The woman's voice.
Yes,
okay,
not the guy.
The PA voice. Okay. I like first off, in like sign of a sarcastic, but in like very painful. He's like, fucking deja vu. Waiting to see if that ignites any kind of like Matrix response.
And Tano is just like, look, brother, I can't keep these guys out of here forever. They already got a grenade in here. We need to get the fuck out of this place right now.
Car 13. Car 13.
And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what was going on in there. Look, I was just keeping an eye on your vitals. My whole place is shot to shit, and I'm going to have to give it all up. So I'm not really happy right now. So, and then he starts fumbling around, and you realize he's sort of got like this hatch opening in a back wall. And
okay, so like the bench that I just imagined myself scooting towards is not a bench. Like whatever I just like scooted towards. So I was like on like a medical bed or some type of bed in some kind of simulation, and I guess I'm still feeling the effects. And he's like, yeah, we got to get out of here. Carter. Do I know the voice in my earpiece? Do I know who that is?
Yes, you do. And we could call her the operator. It's basically, it's absolutely the person that you thought the guy was in the simulation. It's the person you always work with.
Okay.
It's the person who is sort of your eyes in the sky.
So he says like, are we good to get out of here? Am I done? Not even knowing really what he's done, but
yeah. And she's like, yeah, you're good. Get out of there right now. Okay. Don't let them catch you. So
he grabs Tano, even though he's not for sure who this guy is, and he starts moving towards that back hatch.
Nice. Yeah. So, back hatch is open, and
I shut it behind me if I can.
Yeah. Let's say you can. Yeah.
Okay.
And as you do, like the door finally gets kicked all the way open, and like a half squad of Rebco SAR guys, submachine guns out, they start, sweeping like, they can't have gotten fucking far. Let's find them, and they're trying to figure out, they start overturning things. They're trying to find a closet. They haven't, though, discovered that this sort of hatch exists.
So he just puts a finger up to his lips, right? And he's just like quiet.
Okay.
And whatever locking mechanisms are on this thing, which maybe there are, or maybe it's super junk, I don't know. He's engaging all of those, and then if there's anything heavy to like prop in front of it, all that stuff, like whatever he think he can do quietly and quickly enough to slow them down, he's doing. And then he kind of points to Tano, and he's like, let's go.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds good. So yeah, you start so after a minute, like the Rebco SAR guys, they're like, they must have gotten, check the air vents, check the floorboard, see if there's a hole in the ground. Let's see where these fuckers went. And they start, and meanwhile they're also like, make sure you secure the rest of the club. And so some of them fan out. One person stays behind and sort of pokes around, but he's not really sure where to look. So if you wanted to, well, what would you like to do?
So there's one guy in the room and the others have spread out.
Yeah.
Is this hatch that I assume I can look out of and hear out of, is it something I could open and get the jump on him?
Yeah. So, and just actually, one thing, the hatch, it's not just like a little compartment to hide in. It keeps going.
I imagine like a hallway or something like that.
Yeah. But I think that would involve you stealthy.
Yeah, my stealth is shit.
Yeah. So that's why I'll leave it up to you if you want to think about how you want to do it.
He sees the like opportunity, and then he's he points at Tano, like, let's go, let's move.
Okay, out the tunnel.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Tano's like, yeah. And so he's sort of like, he's like, just stay right behind me. And, so it's kind of like It's kind of like a low ceiling, so you're kind of crouched as you move. You're a pretty big guy in this game, right?
Yeah. Like, and I'm bigger than like humans normally are.
Yes.
Just like height and girth and everything.
So you might be like bordering on like crouch walking or even crawling. Tano is a much smaller person. And you know, he's sort of bent, he's hunched over a little bit, and he's leading you out. And as you know, you sort of make your way through this tunnel for a few minutes, and you come out sort of near like a sort of like a reservoir that doesn't come close to helping Mudville avoid flooding during the rain season. But so right now it's sort of, you know, there's some water flowing through it, but it's sort of like it comes out near this reservoir, and you find yourself outside in Mudville.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you're about like 100 feet, like across the street, so to speak, from, you know, when you turn around, you see Tano's Cyber Cafe, and you know, you hear screams coming from inside. Maybe you hear shots being fired, and you see like the blink of light through like one of the partially closed windows. And Tano's kind of just looking at it like everything. That's everything. Like that's
let it go,
everything.
brother. We got to move.
And he's sort of fixed in place.
I pick him up.
All right. And yeah, so you make your way, and suddenly, you know, the operator's voice comes in. He's like, you know, Dent, are you out of the building?
Yeah, we're out. We're moving.
We're out. Is Tano still alive?
I've got Tano.
Okay, because we owe him everything for this job. He just saved your life.
Well, actually, she goes, is Tano still alive? She goes, he lifts it, he like pulls the head back and like, are you Tano? Yeah, he's still with us.
Yeah, all right. He's like, okay, I need you to get him to safety.
All right, give me a direction.
All right, she starts like, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Okay, so what we've got nearby, we've got, you know, you could disappear deep into Mudville. You know, you're at the reservoir. If you could find some way to, you know, because you might remember, the listeners wouldn't know this at all unless they've, for some reason, are crossover. But, you know, like Libreville is around like a big inlet of water. So this reservoir goes to the water. The water you could follow the coastline to different parts of the city. And then she's like, but, you know, you're also like 3 blocks from the monorail.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be 7 foot on that anytime soon. Are there any boats around?
Let's give me a streetwise. What would you like to roll to see if there's?
Yeah, streetwise. Glasses are filthy. Maybe analyze and smart.
Okay.
So 2 dice.
Yeah. 4. Okay. You see something that could work.
Okay.
But what's the complication? Is it out of fuel? Is it a little leaky? Is it a rowboat and it's going to take all night?
It's a good question. Yeah, I think it's got to have some kind of. Just imagine like a paddle boat, not even a rowboat.
Like, God damn it, Tan, it's gonna take 2 of us to paddle.
Yeah,
if we want to get there.
Yeah. It's a fucking. It's one of those like swan paddle boats. Like there's a whole like gondola for renting one of these swan paddle boats. And he sets Tano down. He's like, look, I don't like this, but something's telling me that the monorail isn't going to be safe tonight. What are your thoughts?
And let's say that Tano's like borderline, catatonic's too strong a word, but he's in shock.
Oh, great. So I'm doing all the pedaling?
Yeah, he's not super helpful. And as you're doing this, you realize that there are sort of like airships coming in, sort of like spotlights coming to help with the search.
What time of day is it?
It's middle of the night from what you can tell.
No one else is out paddle boating.
No.
Well, we're hoofing it. I'm not getting on that monorail. The question is, am I hoofing it along the coast? How much cover is along the coast into like open waterways where I could find actual watercraft, hopefully?
Let's say like there's, some marshlands, some of those like giant like cattail kind of things. But it's going to make it tough to... It might be very easy to misstep into deeper water because you can't really see, and like the actual edge of the coast is covered by this plant life, so you're not 100% sure.
Is it U.S. Marshals where they have the swamp scene?
I have never seen that one.
Okay.
That's the sequel to The Fugitive, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. So what happens in that scene?
I just kind of remember there's something I've seen with a swamp, right? And so I'm just admit, like I'm gonna have the whole swamp breathe thing where like we hide underwater and I'm breathing and stuff. I don't actually know if that happens in U.S. Marshals or The Fugitive, either one, but it's certainly a trope. So the other option is hoof it through the city. All right, we're going marshlands, ducking it in as much cover, even though stealth is not Dent's strong suit. He also sticks out like a sore thumb around most other people with just his size.
All right. And the operator's like, Dent, what are you doing?
We're going to shoot for... Looks like we're getting wet. What are your thoughts?
And she's like, look, I'm not on the ground. I can't tell you exactly what to do. I would get out of there however you can.
They've got gunships already. I like our odds.
All right. So like Tano is not, like I said, he's not like cool under fire here. Let's do some kind of roll that's the approach is gonna be empathic, and then how you go from there, I'll leave up to you.
And I'm just trying to like get him to get moving, or
to get him to like, hey, I need you to go underwater and breathe through a tube.
Oh yeah.
While you're panicking, I need you to sort of get him on board.
Okay. And analyze maybe, just for analyzing him and what's going to work to get him to do what he needs to do.
Sure. Yeah.
So oh baby.
Ooh. Okay. So
look, he like sets him down and he talks to him. I don't know. Tano didn't have a father figure, and Dent says, "Look, son, and like, if you want to get out of this alive, you need to trust me and you need to listen to me. We'll do this together. I won't leave you behind." And Tano's like, "Dad?" No. And so, but he does like, he is reassuring. And as much as like Dent likes to be a sarcastic asshole, he's not about to get killed over this guy. He doesn't mean shit about it. If it comes between him and Tano, that doesn't really matter, but he's not about to tell this guy that.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, cool. So yeah, the plan basically works. You sort of take cover. You maybe go underwater when you need. You use the reed to breathe, all the cool shit. And it's just then a waiting game. Why don't you give me a 1d6 roll?
Okay.
Okay. So it's a long wait. It's about 5 hours. So when you start to get the gut feeling that the coast is clear, the sun's starting to break over the city of Libreville, and you can, because you've sort of had your ear at the ready, and eventually like the hover APCs or whatever, they take off, and the coast is essentially clear.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll just like double check with Op, like any, like, is she picking up anything on scanners or anything?
Yeah, so she's like, no, they they're not done looking, but they've given up basically on Tano Cyber Cafe. They don't think you're there, and they've started to spread the search out a little bit further.
Okay.
And so she's like, I gotta say, Dent, while you're inside there, I was having a lot of interference. What was going on?
I would love to tell you, but I was on a monorail. I don't even know what we were doing. How about we start there?
And she's like, well, first I got to say, like, mission accomplished. Good job. You know, as always, you were the you were the wrecking ball to my scalpel. You managed to get through the firewall, and I was able to get in and plant the spyware on Rebkosar's servers perfectly. You know, they definitely detected your breach attempts, but they seem to be unaware of the cyberware package delivery. So,
well, sometimes you just got to crash into it like a freight train.
She's like, well, that's why we hire you. Nobody gets through a firewall like you do, Dent.
No one can, baby.
That's right. So, so she's like, yeah, I think the Elevation Corporation is going to be really pleased with how this went. And I think, you know, if you can make your way back, we're going to be handsomely paid.
Love to hear it. And he just picks Tano up again. Shoulder like a rag doll.
Yeah.
And then they go back to the gondola with all the duck boats. And maybe it's like early morning now, and so maybe there are like some people out, and he starts like pedaling with this grown man like over his shoulder, and this oversized guy and this giant swan as they just pedal out to the reservoir. He's like, find me a boat once I get out to whatever the
nice
the like bigger body of water is.
Cool. So yeah, so let's you know, for all intents and purposes, let's have you paddle boating into the sunrise. With Tano still confused, sort of half in the boat, half over your shoulder. And let's fade to black.
Nice.
There you go. That is Mind the Gap, Cyberpunk. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. The adventure sort of states like, yeah, you know, once you're through the simulation, like, it's up to you. Like, you know, think about, like, do you want to take how they did and spin it into something in the real world?
Sure.
And
yeah.
I was like,
I mean, there's a million
not?
things. That simulation can be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I like that it was, you know, hacking into Rebkosar, which is, like you said, is crossover with some other games we play. Rebkosar is a big presence. So that's cool.
Yeah. They're sort of like the de facto, for me and for Matt, it's the de facto bad guy. So I don't know if that came through at some point, but they're sort of the stand-in for your general evil corp bad guy.
So I know we talked about, and if you have more closing thoughts, let's do those first. But one thing we may want to consider, and I know we talked about it in Damn Fine Coffee, is now that we're like done, and we only did 2 sessions of this, right. Kind of just more thoughts on the game or anything like that. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to wrap up from the adventure?
No, I will say, like, I think what I like about this as an introduction adventure is a couple things. I've never, as much as I love Cyberpunk, I've never run Cyberpunk where it involved like the hack, the run, you know, the job, right? Yeah. So like when you and I were playing in our sci-fi stuff, that where Rebkosar all comes from, there was a Cyberpunk vibe to the setting, but we didn't do the hack. So what I really liked about this starting adventure is it provided that matrixy feel to the run. So you could get an idea of like, hey, like think weird, think, you know, and it's stuff like maybe you've seen in other sources, like, you know, like in the Matrix, like Neo loses his mouth, you know, in the back of the, like, you know, there's like trippy stuff that makes you realize what's going on, or like everybody freezes and it's the girl in the red dress, and, you know, but I really appreciated that it sort of put some ideas out there in a very simple scenario, get from 18 to 12 or get from 18 to 22. And it made it simple but trippy enough for me to get a handle on how to run this kind of thing. I will say, the more time, I was saying this at the beginning of the first session, I was a little confused about how to do it. And the more comfortable I got with it, the more I could see doing longer term things with it. There's a little bit more meat to it than I think I appreciated at first. So I also like that.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I would iron out, the harm and stuff like that, and what does it mean to like spend armor, and just like, this is rules light, right? It's you know, a 1-page pamphlet front and back for the player, and a couple more pages for the GM. But that's true of any rules light thing.
Mhm.
I think my only like thing I didn't like before I talk about all the stuff I did like is maybe just the Forged in the Dark system. And I talked about this on Damn Fine Coffee.
Right.
The whole like pinwheel of progressing and having this like, this is your progress, and like, okay, I did this like cool thing, like I role played doing this and I beat the crap out of this guy, but I only have like 4 of the 6. I like at some
Yeah.
point when I'm playing a game, if that's your mechanism, I think as a GM you have to like maybe hand wave the last 2.
Right.
Like
I can see that.
let your players take the win early instead of being like stuck to, this is a 6-piece pie that you have to fill all 6 pieces. Like,
Right.
oh man, on piece 5 you just did the coolest thing. Like, all right, but now what happens, and do one more test and then have bad consequences when you've already won. So if I were to like, and I've talked about like Brinkwood, I really want to do something with Brinkwood. That's the vampire one where like the masks give you different powers. It looks pretty sweet. If that's present in that, I would be way more willing to like hand wave, like, all right, the players have this one. We don't need to push for those last couple successes.
Right. Yes. So for me, the trick is, and I don't want to put the weight of this on the system because I'm completely.
Oh yeah, and that's Forged in the Dark thing. I should clarify. That is not a cyberpunk thing. We've seen that in other Forged in the Dark stuff that we've played.
Right. So what I think I wasn't taking advantage of was, well, I mean, you were spending stress, and had you hit 2 more stress, things would have started to happen. I don't think I was coming up with consequences. Basically, whenever something didn't go perfectly right, there's an option to sort of dampen those consequences by doing certain things like glitching something, or there's certain things you can spend to make something else go better, or increasing the threat to increase the effectiveness. And so I feel like there's a lot of like of the levers I wasn't pulling because I'm unfamiliar.
Yeah. And I wasn't either, because some of that's on the player too, like increasing the threat for a bigger effect. Like,
right.
all that stuff's there, and I wasn't pulling those levers.
Right. Because
some of that is just clarity on exactly how that works mechanically.
Right. Right. The one thing that I find interesting, and I'm curious, so like Blades in the Dark, it seems, I've never played it, this is a gross oversimplification, but it seems like that sort of ticking time bomb wheel is its sort of main thrust.
Okay, I haven't played that either, but if I am assuming that mechanic is in there and important just based off the other stuff we've read and played.
Right. So it
could be completely wrong. So
they could be completely wrong, but in my head, from what I've skimmed and looked at and read, and I feel like trackers are a core part of the experience.
I think so too.
And so when you take a system like Savage Worlds, because it's a hodgepodge of like whatever you want it to be, it has a system for those kinds of trackers, but it also has whatever else you want. And so I'd be curious to try because I've always heard such great things about Blades in the Dark.
Yep.
Or I'd be really curious to see how it all works when, assuming this assumption is right, the main thrust is the countdown, the tracker, that kind of pressure and what it means. I'd be curious, because my only experience with that kind of thing is either this or when I've sort of cobbled it into other systems that use Mithras M Space. They cobbled it on all these sort of generic systems. Say, oh, you want that? Okay, I'll find a system and tack it on.
Sure.
So,
well, I would certainly play it because I would like to just see it more. It can be, and it was even demoralizing for the GM in Long Dark Space Between the Stars. It just got to a point, like, if I see your pie wheel come up in the stream, I don't pretend to, like, player Matt saw it, but Dent doesn't see it, obviously, right? It's still demoralizing. Like, oh man, I still have 3 more check marks to go before this problem is addressed.
Right.
That's not the best, but I think there's easy ways to go around that. And that didn't even feel good as the GM. What's cool about, and going back to like the cyberpunk thing, I know that like Shadowrun lends itself to running jobs and then playing in this bigger world. What's cool about or appealing to me about Blades in the Dark is that it is very job based. Like every session is doing the job and then role playing the consequences of that, and you're managing, you know, different relationships with other factions, and you have rivalries and all that stuff. And so whether that job is medieval Europe pulling a heist or cyberpunk, yeah, I think that's cool too. I've only done a couple things where it's like job based, like your session is going to be doing this hack, your session is going to be robbing this bank, whatever that is, and it's always gone well. And so throwing it in a cool cyberpunk setting, that's certainly appealing to me as well. I don't know. I've dabbled, right? Like I've read a little bit here, and I have some old Shadowrun stuff, and I have some new Shadowrun stuff, and I have Cyberpunk Red and all that stuff, but I haven't gone shuttlecock deep in anything yet. So,
right, and that's sort of. I keep banging. I apologize. What I've heard superficially about games like Shadowrun and Cyberpunk, and I think we were chatting about this earlier, is, and this might not be true. This is just things I've heard in the wind. They don't always balance the run versus the non-run parts of the game when they start to happen simultaneously. And what I really like about this idea, and I guess could be really great about Blades in the Dark, is this doesn't pretend to strike that balance. It's like, we're going to make this run awesome. And, you know, because isn't that why a lot of Cyberpunk is played, is because you like that idea of dipping into cyberspace and doing the hacking. And so I think this is I genuinely enjoyed that aspect. This seemed to do that part of Blades in the Dark justice, where it's like, it's about the job, it's the run.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, but you still get role playing in that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a different version of a dungeon crawl, but depending on how that's structured, that still offers role play, because like I like heavy role play sessions where even if we're going room to room, which is tough, you know, with Pathfinder, we're entering a dungeon, right? We're going to be going room to room, and even though I want this, but then I'm GMing something that's just not going to have a lot of opportunity for the next session till we get out of where we're at.
Right.
I mean, it may come up, but what's cool here is there's still, I think, even with one-on-one, there was still role play opportunity presented, even though it's just it's a dungeon crawl wearing a different hat, right?
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. And I think, do you think that's a testament to the setting, or do you think it's the system? Like, does the Cyberpunk sort of lend it to? Okay.
I mean, I think Cyberpunk lends it to it because your dungeon is not an actual dungeon. It's a monorail. Right. It's a skyscraper. It's I mean, and I'm sure we could come up with a scenario where we're doing a job and it's all very technical, right? And you're not interacting with other characters and stuff other than the other players. So some of that's just on the players and how they're going to interact with each other if you want to get that role playing out of it. What's great about a rules light system like this is because it's so open, then I think that then opens up, the system isn't getting in the way of wanting to do the role play you want to do.
Right.
Which can be an upside of these.
Yeah, I will say the system not getting in the way, this is one of the strongest examples I've never played PBTA, so I don't know if that's a system that gets out of the way, but I feel like this was just like, and it was sort of like what we were talking about, Damn Fine Coffee, is like, you know, how much game do you really need to be codified?
Right.
And can you just be like, you know, fuck it, just give me 2 from there, 2 from there. If you get a 4, 5, 6, you're fine. You know, like, you know, and because it's really about like what you're going to tell me after that fact.
But there was, there's an element. No, just to follow on that, there's an element of that here and it didn't come up because we're playing this scenario where I didn't have to do planning. But from what I've heard with Shadowrun is like, you do a lot of prep work, I think. Right. Maybe you don't. Again, haven't played. I've just listened to other podcasts talk about it. So some of your gameplay is prep for a job, and that can take all night. Right. What's really cool, and players may love that, you can forego all the prep and planning, and you do this flashback action.
Yes.
And that flashback action allows you to then role play in that planning, whatever that looks like. Maybe it's just saying like, oh, we brought the whatever along to get past this laser wall or whatever, you know, or
Right.
you know, you could take us. There's nothing in the system that says don't role play that planning session. What
Right.
it says is use this action to do a flashback to incorporate that planning. Don't spend an hour and a half when you start thinking of everything you're going to need, which is really cool because
Yeah.
if I'm like, okay, you're going to go do a cyber hack into Repco SAR, well, I'm not bringing my crowbar, you know,
Right.
but then like I need my crowbar when I'm in this simulation. So
Yeah, no, I really like that point, because I feel like that's the actual heart of the Blades in the Dark, Forged in the Dark system, is that it's all about being a heist game that you don't plan.
yeah.
And it lets you develop the planning so it all feels like it comes together in a cool way. And maybe that's really something, and that's something that other systems, again, Savage Worlds, you can throw a Benny for a flashback, and that's basically stealing that.
And we've done that. I mean, we've done that in your Savage Worlds game. We've used that explicitly for that reason. Throw a Benny to say, this is how we came prepared, which is great. I mean, you can get so bogged down in that stuff. Like, oh man, we're going into a skyscraper. Like, oh, we need to but someone's got to think of the alarm system. And, it's just like, where do you stop planning? And so it just lets you get into action. I'm not saying I wouldn't like a planning session, but
yeah, that could be interesting. But what I like about these tools with Cyberpunk, Forged in the Dark, is that the trick is, like if you're planning something, are you setting up the GM to have to say no at some point because you didn't plan? And here it's just like, don't worry about it. When the time comes, I'm going to be able to say yes. And the system codifies how to do that. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And then like you spend, and I think in our first session, I did take a breather to recoup some of my stress.
Oh, that's true.
And how it works mechanically here is you take on stress to do a flashback, and if you want to get really like carried away with your flashback for planning, you have to take on two stress. Right. And so there's a resource cost to it, but I don't know. I like the idea of it. I know we didn't use it. It also sounds a whole heck of a lot to me that we have some more Forged in the Dark in our.
Yes, and I think there's a couple different. Different versions.
Blades in the Dark is the OG, and that's your like a band of thieves, right?
Right.
There's there's the medieval grimdark.
Yes, and that's the one I was trying to think of. And then there's a sci-fi one, I thought.
I think there's also a more robust cyberpunk one as well.
There might be. Wait, is Scum and Villainy Forged in the Dark, or is that?
Yeah, that's
PBTA?
No, I think Scum and Villainy is Forged in the Dark.
Maybe that's the Forged in the Dark sci-fi one I'm thinking of. Whatever that Grimdark one is, the other one that I've heard of as well. And I say that
Band of Blades.
Band of Blades,
yeah. And Scum and Villainy is the spaceship crew one.
Yeah. So
and then there's Girl by Moonlight, which actually not like magical girls anime is not my cup of tea, but like I'd try it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
Right. And Brinkwood,
right.
That also looks that one looks pretty sweet, I think. And I've read through this one, and it's you're trying to take down like a oppressive band or faction of vampires.
Right. This is a vampire one. Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree. Like I think part of our bias, at least from when we've talked on the side, like we tend towards slightly heavier systems.
Yep.
But I will say, like, this was, for me personally, overall, that whole month of like one shots, but specifically yours and this one that were both based on the same core. It was a really great sort of eye opener to like, hey, you should be trying this system more. And there's a reason why so many people like it, and it's worth taking a dive into. I really ended up enjoying both The Long Dark and Cyberpunk.
And so now we just got to pick. Do we want sci-fi or do we want
man? I don't know if this is better on a damn fine coffee thing, but like, do you go one way or the other if you had to choose sci-fi versus fantasy?
I'd probably lean towards Blades or gosh, I keep pulling it up and I keep forgetting the name of
Band
Blades or Band of Blades.
Yeah.
Either one of those. I'm not opposed to Scum and Villainy. I just feel like a lot of my role playing has been in space.
Recently,
and maybe,
it feels that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And Alien was so amazing and went for, like a year and a half or whatever. So that was, but if you're like, hey, I'm doing Scum and Villainy, then I'm all in. And there's others that aren't listed on their website. Like that's where I know there's another more in-depth Shadow, not just Cyberpunk, but Shadowrun. So it's got the fantasy elements tied into the Cyberpunk setting, which I'm not opposed to. I don't mind the peanut butter in my chocolate.
Right.
So there's more stuff out there is my point.
I'd be curious, not that, this, I would probably, for this, I'd probably lean towards the medieval as well, more than sci-fi, because we've done a lot of sci-fi on the side. The one thing I'm curious about Scum and Villainy, and I guess I could pull it off my shelf and read it, but I'm not going to do that, is some of the best parts of your Alien campaign was in transit, the bullshit that happened in the downtime. And my vibe with the Blades in the Dark system is that it's meant to, well, maybe not. In my head, it's eliminating some of the downtime because it's downplaying the planning, but that might not be.
I think you still have downtime.
Yeah.
From my understanding, I just think you cut out the, like, we need to bring this.
Right.
We need to bring this because of this. I think you're still doing stuff outside of the job in different capacities. I don't know exactly what that looks like. And who's to say you did, like, you just do it anyways then, because I agree. The travel times, even in M space,
right.
We've done some crazy wild shit and made up a party bus and did a like slingshot maneuver under a giant cargo freighter, and it was brilliant. Like that's the best stuff is just when you're just flying through space, and what does your crew cause? Like, how do they inflict their own harm? Shoot himself in the foot. All that stuff's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But who's to say, that can happen in space, that can happen in a barroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
that's not, So I guess with that, this was a really good time. I'm glad we finally got to wrap this up. I appreciate you jumping in for this.
Yeah. So like, what do you think? Well, like, if we had some kind of bullshit rating system, like,
how many
slices of cherry pie? Or, and then like, what would be the like downer side of it from Twin Peaks?
Fish in the percolator.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. You nailed it. Is this fish in a percolator or a damn good slice of cherry pie?
For me, this is a damn good slice of cherry pie. I really like the introduction it gave me to this general system that I had no concept of. I felt like even though I had trouble grasping it, it's because I was completely new.
Yep.
But I feel like with a little experience, this could run pretty easily. And I think you were saying this at one point. If we had Patrick here to offer a second set of skills, I felt like it could have been interesting, like the different ways you could have approached the simulation. It could have gotten a little weird because, like you were saying, because you're built like a hammer, everything's going to be a nail. But if Patrick had stealth and empathy, or who knows what, like he could have maybe tricked out the simulation in different ways, or who knows.
Yeah.
So I think
that also allows me to take like edges, edges, like you're foregoing a stat in Analyze to pick up some kind of edge in athletics or something like that. And I was a little reluctant to do that just because it's one-on-one, but you're right. There's more to this little 2-page pamphlet than what we explored. So yeah, this is a damn fine slice of cherry pie for me as well.
Nice.
And even if, and it's true of any rules light thing, if there's some ambiguity, the great thing about these is you don't have to go flipping through 150 page of rules to find the rules. You're flexible. All right, what does that harm actually look like? What does that do to your armor? What are the implications? And you just come up with it at the table with your players.
Right.
And that's great stuff.
Because it's so loose, it doesn't matter. You just find the column it'll fit sort of in, and that's all you need. You don't need to know, like, well, wait, did it hit his arm? Did it hit it from above? Did it hit it from 150 meters?
Right.
Was he behind cover? It's just like, and this for me was obviously slice of pie. Definitely the sum was greater than the whole of its parts as I started to see, like what you were just saying, I could have taken an edge if Patrick, because you had to be a jack of all trades and, a little bit. So yeah, there's a lot here that I think doesn't make itself obviously clear when you just sort of look at it the first time. cold.
Right. Yep.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for running it, and great job. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I would even like, I think I said with Long Dark Space Between the Stars, like it did its thing, right?
Right.
It has this message of what are you giving up in exchange of accomplishing this goal? And I think that's cool. I don't need to go back to that for like a good amount of time. Like maybe in 3 years, someone's like, hey, let's do Long Dark Space Between the Stars and see what happens.
Right.
Great. Like I'm certainly not opposed to going back to this. This has a good amount. This is replayable, and it's got meat on it to do a little like, oh, you can like string together a few jobs. I mean, I wouldn't spend like 5 years in this.
No, but I would definitely, for me, keep this in my back pocket. If we like, you know what, we got to fill 2 nights this month. I'd be like, you know what, actually
in your back pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally.
Like a piece of paper you fold it up 12 times and that's impossible. You can't fold something 12 times.
There is some number you can't do it, right? Is it?
I think 12 is up there.
Okay.
I think a dozen folds is impossiple.
Pretty high. Okay, but yeah.
All right, and now, folks, to wrap up, I'm going to take this piece of paper and we're going to see if I can fold it 12 times.
Drink. Yeah. So for me, I would definitely. This is one I would, because like you said, there's a little bit more meat, and yeah. So does that sort of cover it?
Yeah, I think so. Awesome job.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, Matt, for jumping in. And again, thank you everybody who checked this out, for all the people that are listening. If you like this, like, subscribe, leave comments, thumbs, whatever. There's a bell on YouTube. I don't know what that does, but click that thing.
Sure, just click it all.
Just click shit. And again, if you prefer audio versions of this and a lot of the things we do, just search for Black Lodge Trivia Night wherever you get your podcasts. We've got currently going on Pathfinder Menace Under Otari. That's Matt's game. We've got Call of Cthulhu Modern Scratch. Patrick's running that. And I think because this month has 5 Thursdays in it, we're going to have a Damn Fine Coffee at some point, hopefully another podcast.
Yeah, I think we have two things for sure in the books. I'm out next week for Historic Fest, which by the time you hear this will be live probably.
Hopefully.
The week after that, we'll be back in Pathfinder.
I'll be out that week, the 24th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we'll not have Pathfinder again this month, but we will have Damn Fine Coffee.
Yeah. I'll be a week late to Historic Fest.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, I'll show up. It's like, where the fuck's everybody? Okay. But anyway, yeah. So thank you everyone who watched or listened. And again, Matt, thank you as well. And
yeah, thank you.
We'll talk to you guys soon.
Awesome.
Take care. The music during the RPG session in Foundry was provided by the Foundry module Tabletop RPG Music and composed by Ian Fisher. You can find his Patreon at www.patreon.com/tabletop RPG music, all one word.